Okay, we're going to be looking here at ranges, griddles, and fryers. This would fall in the food production. We are going to be cooking food items on all of these. They are going to cook with open heat sources. You have multiple sizes and variations to specific needs. We're going to cover fryers first. A deep fat fryer. Typically, they have baskets that lower either automatically or just pick them up and drop them in. You're going to deep fry food. It's fully submerged into hot oil. The temperature is going to go between 300 and 400 degrees. 350 to 375 is your optimal temperature for deep frying. Remember that your food is going to be very cold. So the recovery time on the oil is really important. If you put food down in too much cold food down into that oil and you drop that temperature, then it's not going to crisp up and turn brown. It's going to suck up grease and it's going to be very greasy and very gross if it's not hot enough. If it's too hot, it's going to burn pretty quickly. So that's an important element, is getting that temperature right when you are deep frying. You always want to use caution when you're using a deep fryer. Make sure that you've been trained on it and you follow all the safety procedures. You might have some personal protective equipment that's necessary, such as certain gloves. You always want to use tools with handles. Never reach in there. It will fry your fingertips. Use the proper grease level and cooking temperatures. As I just said, too hot and too cold can be dangerous, as well as give you undesirable food. You don't want to reach over or climb over a fryer. Would be a horrible situation if you fell into a hot fryer. Disposing of used oil properly by law. Never ever put any oil or any amount of oil down a drain. Neither liquid vegetable oil or solid. That is illegal and it is undesirable for many reasons. Keep the floors clean and dry. It is going to get slippery around a deep fryer. Slip resistant, restaurant approved shoes are mandatory, particularly in and around that greasy area. Do not work too close to a hot fryer with a wet floor. Make sure that the floor is nice and dry. Don't spill water or ice into oil. If you remember anything from my safety lessons in the classroom, water and oil create splatting and splattering. Do not store drinks near a fryer. They can get knocked in. If you overfill it, then if you have a gas with an open flame, it can overflow and cause a horrendous grease fire. You don't want to, you want to make sure that your food, if it's frozen, that you shake off extra ice, because ice is essentially water. And when ice hits oil, it's going to cause it to bubble up, it's going to cause it to expand, and it could cause it to overflow or explode. If you overheat the oil, it's going to burst into flames. Do not put hot oil into containers. Make sure that it's the proper temperature. Do not store oil on the floor or by the grill area for a fire. And always use the Class B or K fire extinguisher. Do not use a regular fire extinguisher. Water plus grease fire equals explosion. So next you have a flat top burner. So essentially this is a French top stove. It is a burner that the food cooks on cast iron or on steel plates for even and consistent heat. I've seen people use it like a griddle and cook directly on it, but you're not really supposed to do that. You really are supposed to be using this like a stove and put your pans on there. This makes it a lot easier to clean, and it's nice and even. You can cook with big things. The whole thing gets hot. A griddle is a surface that you cook the food directly on the surface. So they can be electric, they can be gas. You can have a griddle that just fits on top of a stove and you can cook on it. So it's similar to a flat top range. The heat source is beneath the thick plate of metal. You have sides on it and that collect the food. And you can't really see here in the front, you have like a little grease trap. So you have a well in the front, and you would take your spatula as you get oil and grease buildup and just kind of roll it towards the front, and then you can collect it out. There's a little hole in it, and you can see a little pull out pan here at the bottom, and that way you can pull your grease out and dispose of it properly. An induction burner, you have seen me utilize one of these in the classroom at the demo station when I cook for the class. So an induction burner involves magnetic attraction between the cooktop and the steel or the cast iron pot. The cooktop remains pretty cool. I mean, it produces some amount of heat, but it does not in and of itself get hot. The reaction time is really fast, so it heats up really fast. Regular copper or aluminum or pans that do not have that magnet in them will not work. They will not turn the induction burner on, and so they just don't get hot. Like normally it'll beep at you or it'll flash a light. This is a 4-burner one here in the picture here. So because they don't produce as much heat, they are a little expensive, but this is a wonderful thing if you're going to cook with a skillet. If you're going to do something in your food truck specifically for that project, this is something to really kind of look for or look at. And they have different levels of them. They have some that you can buy for your home, and then they have a more commercial grade and upper grade. And so it's something to kind of play with. I will say, the learning curve on cooking on one of these, it's not the same as a flat top stove. They cook differently. The heat, the way that the heat comes, it's you just learn how to do it after you cook on it for a long time. And then we have a wok. So a wok is a very large round bowl that specializes, it's a type of pan that specializes in making stir fry. So the bottom and the sides are extremely hot, and the food is designed to move in the pan very, very quickly. So because of the roundness and the size of the bowl, you wouldn't want to cook on a normal surface because only the very bottom of it would get hot. And so a wok burner has a collar around it, and the heat comes up around the pan so that you get more heat along the sides for your stir frying. So wok is a savory charred flavor that exists with the stir frying. So stir frying is extremely hot and extremely fast, and it is designed, there is certain cutting methods that will maximize the cooking. We've learned about some of those in our knife skills labs and units before, the stir fry cut, if you remember from that video from Foods and Nutrition. But essentially, more food surface area with a thinner cut is going to be the most valuable. You also have an open burner or grate style range. Typically, these would be gas. They go with direct heat by open flame, and the heat is easily controlled. So I have one of these there in the classroom under the big hood. So you're familiar with seeing this. Essentially, this is like a big gas stove with open flame, and you can have a 4 or a 6 burner, sometimes even bigger than that.